Hi everyone, this is Emma with a chemistry sugar burning. In today's lesson we are learning about atomic mass and how that is related to the number of protons and the number of neutrons. So as you can see here up at the top, I have written out the equation that we will be using to solve for atomic mass, and we can also use this equation to solve for the number of protons and solve for the number of neutrons. So let's just to start, let's see how this equation works. So if you were given that you have 5 protons and 7 neutrons, you could plug them into that equation and you would get atomic mass equals 5 for the protons plus 7 for the neutrons, and you would get that the atomic mass is 12. Now if you had the number of protons to be 10 and the number of neutrons to also be 10, you would do the same thing. You would plug those into the equation above and you'd get atomic mass equal to 10 plus 10, and you'd get 20. So that's a pretty easy way to see how this equation works. Now, as you can also see, sometimes the number of protons and the number of neutrons are the same, like in that second example, but also you can see that sometimes they differ, like in the first example. So it's important to always plug those into the equation and make sure you're not just assuming that they match each other or anything like that. Now you can also use this equation to solve for the number of neutrons when you look at certain elements on the periodic table. So let's zoom in. You know how the periodic table is just made up of little rectangles of elements. So let's zoom in on one of those. Let's zoom in on oxygen. Now oxygen, you'll see a little number at the top, and that is actually called your atomic number. And it also represents protons. So we'll be able to use that in the equation. Also, you know that there's a symbol for oxygen. That's a big O. So that's your symbol. And then at the bottom, there's a number for oxygen. It's 15.999. And that is your atomic mass. Now for this class and most other basic chemistry classes, you do not need to deal with that decimal number. You can always just round to the nearest whole number. So for oxygen, that would be 16. Now, as you can see, we're given atomic number, which represents the number of protons, and we're given atomic mass, which is used in this equation. So we have 2 of the 3 things in that equation. Therefore, we can plug in those 2 things and get our third thing, which is the number of neutrons. Now let me show how this works for you guys. So we're given atomic mass of 16. We know that that's equal to the number of protons, which is 8, plus the number of neutrons, right? So if I subtracted 8 from both sides, I would get 8 equals number of neutrons, and we just solved the equation. So as you can see, that is a great way to find out the number of neutrons in each element. Let's do one more example. So let's zoom in on a little bigger of an element. Let's zoom in on bromine. Bromine has an atomic number of 35. Its symbol is Br for bromine. And its atomic mass is 79.9, which we know we can just round to 80. So that's the atomic mass. For every single periodic table that you guys see, they will always be organized like that, with the atomic number at the top, the symbol kind of in the middle, and then that atomic mass at the bottom. Okay, so just be sure you understand how that format works. So if we plug that into our equation, we have an atomic mass of 80. We know that's equal to the number of protons, which is 35, plus number of neutrons, which we don't know yet, that's our unknown. We subtract 35 from both sides, and we get that the number of neutrons equals 45. So again, you can just see how easy it is to plug those numbers into the equation and solve for your unknown. Now in the Google Doc, you're going to be given a table where 2 of the 3 things are filled out, and you're going to have to solve for that third thing. So sometimes I'll give you atomic mass and protons, and you'll have to solve for neutrons. Sometimes I'll give you protons and neutrons, and you'll have to solve for atomic mass. And then sometimes I'll give you neutrons and atomic mass, and you'll have to solve for protons. So just plug those into the equation, and you should be getting the correct number. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, and I hope you are enjoying the class so far. See you soon.